el mejor del barrio. Dicen que tú eres el mejor del barrio. Que tú dirijas y que bien todo compones. Mentiras tuyas, solo mentiras, porque en el barrio hay mucha alegría. A la, pruébame lo tuyo para yo creerte. Pruébame lo tuyo para yo creerte. Suéname la conga, suena el bongo, suena el timbal. Inspírate, hermano, con mucha alegría, porque ahorita aquí vengo yo.
And thank you for listening to 103.5 FM WNHH. You're listening to Jose Candelario here, keeping it 100. So I ain't gonna hesitate with anyone. We're gonna get right into it today. We got our guest, esteemed, astute gentleman, Mr. Garry Tinney is in the building. Thank you, Mr. Garry Tinney. For those who don't know who Mr. Garry Tinney is, he's a retired firefighter, but now has taken on the helm and the fight. In his career to continue to contribute. He didn't take his pension and run. He took his pension and paid attention. So we appreciate that for him. And today we're going to conversate a little bit about his interests, his career, where he came from. And hopefully there's some young people out there that want to get into public safety. This is the interview to listen to. If you're into public safety, if you're interested in public safety, please tune in. Let somebody know this is the conversation we're having today. Let's start, Garry. For those who don't know you, you're pretty infamous in this town. I mean, everyone knows who you are by now because you're involved in how many organizations?
At least 15.
15.
And yeah.
So what name some of these organizations you're in?
I serve on the board of the New Haven Scholarship Fund. I'm the vice president of the New Haven Scholarship Fund. New Haven Scholarship Fund has been around since 1957. Started at Hill House. A teacher at Hill House started. It's still going strong. And unfortunately, the board that I serve on, it's most of the folks are past educators and current educators in the school system.
Okay, and then what else? What you're in the fire area?
International Association of Black Professional Firefighters. I'm the vice president. We have chapters throughout the country and beyond, and members in Africa, and London, and all over the world. And I've been serving as vice president for almost 2 years now.
Wow.
And we have our local chapter here that's part of the international is the New Haven Firebird Society. And we have the Phoenix Society in Hartford. And we have chapters all over the country.
So these are just a few, these are two of the organizations of many that you're involved with. I mean, let's go. I want to go back into your beginning of your career as you first thought about public safety. Was it something like, is it like when you were a child, like most of us, I want to be a firefighter, or was it something that someone led you to, or?
Well, it never crossed my mind. I grew up on Southwest Drive and Division Street in the Newhallville area. And what happened was I was introduced to a couple firefighters, and they became my mentors, George Sweeney and Raymond Nelson. And they're the one that really convinced me that, you really need to take a look at this. I was so young, going through some stuff, and they pointed me in the right direction, and ended up becoming a firefighter.
So again, this is a recurring theme here on this show, is the importance of mentorship, and being able to what can you tell a young person right now that thinks they know it all? Because when we're 15, 17, right. You can't tell me nothing. But how important is it for you to humble yourself and take some of this advice?
Well, first and foremost, I would advise them to at least sit down and listen and speak to. I always surrounded myself by my elders. I spent a lot of time at the Knickerbockers Golf Club.
Yeah.
Met a lot of folks through there. Actually, that's where with Raymond and Mr. George Sweeney. But just sitting down, listening to their advice. I didn't have to agree with everything, but listen. Try to meet them halfway. And fortunately, I did listen because I learned a lot, and it turned to life lessons that have made a huge impact on my life.
I mean, it's huge. I mean, the other big thing that about the little part of the story you told me that I find very important to me, being from New Haven and being from the Ville, that we're still here.
We're still here.
You're still here, so it is possible, because we always hear these stories.
Yeah.
You come from the hood, you ain't going out to nothing, but it is possible. There are people, and you weren't that into the streets, were you, or were you really heavy into the streets?
I was in the mix, put it that way. I could have gone in the wrong direction, but this career, this job opportunity, took me and put me in a place. And then another thing that saved my soul is the fact that I had a daughter.
Oh, that always slows you down.
Yeah, so my daughter, and I was 30 years old. I have one child, my daughter Tinney, and that changed my life. And I couldn't complain about anything about my upbringing because I'm the baby in the family. I had one brother and 3 sisters who were, who made a huge impact on my life. So when they say it takes a village, it does. It takes a village, and fortunately, I had that, and that's what we have to do as far as when you talk about mentoring and reaching these young folks is, taking the time to sit down and talk to them, because what we're seeing now in this world and in this country, it's alarming.
Barbara Fair is chiming in. Oh, well, Miriam Sheffield. That's earlier. Barbara Fair just chimed in and said, "Opportunity allows many of us to take a different path in life."
Yes.
And that opportunity was afforded to you. The window opened.
Yes.
And you jumped through it.
Yeah.
Did you hesitate? I mean, was there friction? Because you make it sound like it was like one, a great conversation. But did you fight a little bit against, people telling you to do this or to go into a different direction?
Yes. But again, fortunately, like she said, like Miss Fair said, the opportunity. So that's why I become a strong advocate for opportunity and giving our young folks in our community an opportunity to, have a chance at these career paths. And, and that's been a challenge. Unfortunately, it's been a real challenge. And when you look at, I'll give you an example. Say about 7 or 8 years ago, we looked at some data with the New Haven Fire Department, and it showed that over $18 million was being outsourced because the folks that were firefighters weren't from New Haven. So then they did they put some numbers together, and that's where that number came up. And again, when you're not hiring from in the community, these folks aren't going to be here. They're not going to coach Little League. They're not going to coach football. They're not going to mentor. The majority.
No.
Yeah,
they come to work and they go home. I mean,
right.
The life of the firefighter is not easy to begin with. I mean, shifts are difficult. So that little bit of free time in between, if you have to be in a different city, then you're not allowed to at least go down the street and help out and work with the youth or give a couple of hours during your week. Right,
exactly. So that's why, again, it's important to belong to these organizations. I mentioned a couple, but you also have the, Pop Smith Little League. I've been part of that organization for over 25 years. But there you have a group of individuals that have been committed to that organization for over 35 years. And those are the folks we need to, tap on the back and say thank you. Because each year they're able to tap into at least, 325 kids. So you have to give them their props, and hopefully one day they'll get a new baseball field.
Oh, wow. If you're listening out there and you have funding sources, Mr. Aldermans and Alderwomen of New Haven, because I guess the Pop Warner field that we're using is the one out there by Hill House on
Correct.
Yeah. right.
Walter Pop Smith. Yeah.
Walter Pop Smith. So that does need a little upgrading because I've seen some of these suburban baseball fields and they look like the AAA, AA facilities when you go, 1, 2 towns over. So why can't we have that kind of facility in our town? I mean, when there are other cities that I go to that take sports very serious, like when you go to Texas. In Texas, when at any level, those facilities are top notch from the ground up.
Yes.
And they're really, that's why people say, oh, they pump out so many athletes, is because they train them. And they got the facilities to train them in and the equipment to do it with. So, that's why every other draft pick comes from, that there versus here. We probably haven't had a draft pick in a minute out of here, right? Tom Williamson? I don't want to go that far back.
Yeah, no, it's been a while, but it's again, we have to invest in what we want. We want to see change, we have to invest in change. When you talk about the baseball field, the basketball courts, a lot of upbringing goes on in those places, and we have to be there. And, we have to show, we have to, watch a game, talk to some of these young folks and try to point them in the right direction. And show them that, look, we were here, been there, done that. And fortunately, we were blessed enough to prevail. And, I retired when I was 53.
You're aging yourself. Don't age yourself now.
Yeah. 53.
All the ladies out there, he's only 45.
But no, again, the opportunity. And we have to we can't become complacent once we get in these positions. That's another issue.
That's the thing I was going to say. Now you retired, and I'm sure that, Barbara Fair just chimed in, says, since the governor is in the city seeking our vote, it's an opportunity to get him to commit some revenue to our city. This is political season.
Yes.
And right now it is the money trap. So you're right, Barbara. This is a good time to mention it. So as we're having these conversations, we should continue the dialogue with the people in power with the money to push forward. I don't want to change it too quick, but on the term of education, you said that you had a public safety program at Hill House at one time.
Yes.
Can you describe what that program was or is?
Well, what happens in the fire service too? Most of predominantly the fire service is made up of white males, and you only have currently, I think there's 7% African Americans in the fire service.
7% African American in the fire service in the state or national? Nationally, only 7%.
So it's down from in the late 70s, because in the late 70s we had consent decrees, and there's still some out there, but consent decrees force cities to hire people of color. So now we're good. We don't need the consent decrees.
So those policies aren't there. So you tell me like the cities like Norwalk who don't have anyone.
Yes.
Hardly anyone. No female, right?
No. Well, Hamden.
Hamden.
No females. If you do the statistics, you look at residency on some of these departments, and you look at gender. It's challenging to say the least. Females in the fire service you have folks out there that are fighting every day to make these necessary changes. And that's what our organization is about, too. We're about community and making change and leveling the playing field so we can see some of our folks. And that's why the public safety was part of that.
Okay.
Because what it did was introduce folks. Every week you had at least 10 police officers and 10 firefighters in the classroom with these kids every Wednesday.
Wow.
You had Yale students, a group of Yale students tutoring these young folks over at Hill House. We would go to UNH. We had a partnership with UNH, Mr. Carbone. And a few of the students were able to attain college credits through the certifications we had. So when you go to hire, again, this was 11, 12, 13 years ago, you expose these kids to these career paths. You give them the certifications. They're from your community. So who best to hire? They're going to stay in your community, most of them. They're going to spend money in your community, and they're going to give back to your community. So that was the goal, to save. And my thing is to save some souls. And because I was fortunate enough, my soul was saved. And I just want to make sure that folks, if interested in this, they have a level playing field to accomplish those goals.
I would just want to emphasize the importance of the certifications, because in other communities there are volunteer fire departments where you can go in these more affluent communities and go get your certification and be then eligible to go move into a city fire department fairly easily.
Yes.
But how many of us live in those affluent communities with volunteer fire departments to attain those? So that's why the certification, especially in the inner city and the program you were doing, is so important.
Yes.
So important to give those, at least a chance at getting employed and within city limits.
Right, and then showing them the pathway. That was it. Showing them the pathway. Either it be law, fire. I can remember one. I'll never forget. I had a young lady come down from the state forensics, and she was talking to the class. And this is at the time when everybody was watching CSI and everything like that. And we asked the question: how many of you in this room are interested in becoming a police officer? Mm-hmm. And we might have maybe one. Mm. And then after they saw the presentation and what it entailed, it wasn't just, seeing cops on the beat, asked the same question. The numbers went up to like 90%. Because they didn't know the different parts of it. So we'd bring them to UNH and show them the forensics lab. Mm-hmm. They have one
Henry
of the best.
Lee, yeah.
Henry Lee,
yep.
So it's, once folks, they see it. When they see firefighters of color, when they see that female firefighter, that meant the world to them. And fortunately, in this last class in New Haven, we saw the fruits of our labor. It doesn't happen immediately, but I ran into folks, and one of the young men that was part of that program became a firefighter.
Nice.
New Haven, Newhallville, phenomenal young man, new family. And it wasn't just one, it was several of them. Several of these young individuals that I had an opportunity to mentor and to see them, with their families, with their grandmothers, their mothers, and the grandmothers crying. And, that's what it's all about.
My boy made it.
Oh. Yeah, but I mean,
it's important. In case you're wondering, you're listening to Keeping It 100. I'm Jose Candelario. 103.5 FM, WNHH, NewHavenIndependent.org, powered by La Voz Hispana, because if I don't say that, Norma will have my head. Mm-hmm. And you're listening to a conversation with a retired firefighter, but now community activist and leader, Garry Tinney, and we're discussing public safety and his involvement and his encouragement of our youth to get involved in this. So now I want to switch gears, because you know me, man, I'm on the fly here, but let's go back to your time in the fire department.
Yes.
You're lucky today. Our teams go. Oh no, this is someone already trying to jump on our popularity here online. No, we're not doing any sales. Where was I? We were going to talk about your time in the service, and now once you get in, the struggle is not over. Once you get into an organization or any organization, especially government or specifically government, is no different than the private sector where you have to crawl your way up and claw your way up. And it's not the same for a person of color versus a person of non-color. Can you talk a little bit about your struggles, what you saw and what you had to overcome?
Yes. Fortunately, I ended up becoming the president of the New Haven Firebird Society, which is the local chapter of our international. And we were you talk about community service, and that's what I always stress to especially the younger firefighter. Community service and work ethic. So regardless of what they say or do, you take care of the community is going to take care of you. Mm-hmm. And they're going to protect you to make sure that they don't put you in a place where you're going to lose your career. That being said, that's, I think around my third year, I really learned what the service was about and what the brotherhood, sisterhood. And I saw some things that I really didn't care for, pertaining to just empathy and sympathy for other folks.
Lack thereof?
Lack thereof.
Lack thereof,
yeah,
okay.
Lack thereof.
That is concerning.
And I'll just name one issue: sickle cell. I forgot to mention that. I'm very I put a lot of work into sickle cell and the outreach because
because it does affect the minority community and especially African American community a little bit more than average.
And we'd always do a boot drive for muscular dystrophy. Go out, you'll see the firefighter.
Yep, I see. Yeah.
So we came up with the concept of we said ring the bell for sickle cell. We'll do the MDA, but we want to do the boot drive also for sickle cell. And we started that, and I had folks. I'm just going back to some of the calls I went on. We would go.
No, I want to. We can talk about causes, but let's talk about like discrimination in the workplace.
Right.
Can we talk a little bit about that? I mean, because look, when I worked in certain places in the industry, I wish I had someone to guide me through it and explain to me how things work, especially when it came to a person of color in an environment like that. It was very difficult for me to navigate. And as a fire department is no different. No. It is no different than any other organization. So how hard. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Okay.
I mean, was it hard?
No, it was hard because once you take a stand and you stand firm on your beliefs and you want to change things, you become that monster in the room. Mm-hmm. So when I could walk into some rooms and folks would just turn around and walk away. They didn't want to be near me. So now I'm starting to think, wow, how about if I have a fire? How can I trust? You got to trust. Now you got a trust factor. Mm-hmm. But that didn't stop me because, again, of my upbringing and what my sisters and my brother, my mother and father taught me, is to stand firm. And we stand on the shoulders of others who continue to fight against discrimination. And on a daily basis, I would see the difference of the way folks were dealt with, the way they were disciplined, and today it's worse. So
that's why it's important to have organizations like yours that's there to survey and look over, because was this in existence while you were a firefighter?
Yes.
So this was already there. So you use this resource as an employee to really guide and assist you through navigating your workplace.
Right, because it's like another family. Our International Association of Black Professional Firefighters, I don't know how I would have survived without being connected with them. Mm-hmm. Because it's a family. You meet people from all over the country. We sit, we strategize, and we come up with different programs. I'll give you an example. Okay, we see a problem with females being hired in fire department. Guess what? We start fire camps. We just started a new fire camp. Our national president, Carrie Edwards Clemens, who's our first female president of our organization over 50 years time. They started a fire camp in Flint, Michigan. There's one in New Britain now. So if you really want to make change, you really want to change the demographics of the fire service or any service, invest in the schools and, set up policies and procedures and training programs so that these folks can get these certifications and can attain these jobs.
You were a little litigious during your career in the fire department. How hard was that for you? To me, it must have tore you apart to stand up against something that you really love and believe in.
Well, it did. But the fruits of your labor, I sued a few times.
yeah. For those who are listening, Mr. Garry Tinney sued the city of New Haven over some policies that he found were creating some injustices within the fire department.
Yeah, and then another thing is that not only you're dealing with the city, then you got to deal with the union and their positions on things. I'm for unions. I'm very supportive of unions, but a union is supposed to protect the members, regardless of race or gender. And that was a challenge. So, you're paying folks that are spending their money to whoop you, in a sense. And that bothered me. So, again, it's an everyday thing. We continue to fight. We continue to change policy. You look at the residency, the New Haven residency points. That was a hard fight.
So what is it, residency point? Can you describe that a little bit?
Well, what happens is, if when the departments go to hire, and if you're a resident, like Hartford, you have to be a resident, or you won't get the job. So if you look at Hartford, that's one of the most diverse departments because that residency makes a difference. This way, you're not seeing all these folks from out of town. And I'm not mad at them for coming, trying to, but, and that's why you see the numbers. That's why you see the disparities. But when you get the resident, I'll give you an example, Bridgeport. When they began using the residency points, it totally flipped. the demographics of the hiring. So you started to see more black and brown. You started to see females. You started seeing Bridgeport residents. So that's what just happened in New Haven. They utilized the resident points, and the numbers changed.
So you were part of that fight. You're proudly.
But again, there were many people, and this applies to not just fire. Again, this applies to if you look at the demographics, I can sit here and tell you what
tell me, talk.
But if
spit
you
the knowledge.
Look at the demographics of our surrounding towns in the greater New Haven area, and you see the disparities. You see the departments without women, without African American, without Hispanic, and it's alarming. The numbers are alarming. And my take too is when you hire. Sometimes when you go and you hire folks from the outside that never really experienced a very diverse community, you give them a badge. You give them a badge and a gun. You put them in. What do you
position of power?
Right. And what do you expect? Sometimes you're gonna. A lot of times you're gonna get a good person to do the job the way they're supposed to. But sometimes you're gonna get some folks that just don't know how to deal with our communities.
How to relate, create relationships, and create that trust.
Yeah.
Because when people come in with their backgrounds, you never know what kind of filters that they have, and especially when they're from the suburbs, they might have a lack of filters, which is even more dangerous at times. So and that does affect how they react and interact with the community. And the last thing you need is the community not to trust your firefighters and your police department, because there's not a reflection of who they are. They don't see themselves in the mirror. They see someone else totally different.
And I going back to like the sickle cell incident. I can remember going on calls and folks, why are we going on the call because of a leg pain or arm pain? And I had to explain to them. I had to pull them aside and say, look, do you know what sickle cell is? And I had to explain to them the pain that these folks are going through. And I said, if I were to grab your elbow and squeeze it hard as I could, that's the type of pain. And then a lot of the patients are allergic to the medications. So I mean, their life journey is.
So you encourage the fire department to go ahead and answer these calls, and when they're involved in sickle cell, on top or as part of there.
Well, I had to explain to them why we were going on the calls. They're going to go. If somebody calls 911, we're going. But I had to explain to them that this isn't a call that we shouldn't be going on. We need to be there to comfort, because what happens with sickle cell, folks go into crisis, and then they have to go to the hospital, and they have to recover from it. Unfortunately, a best friend of mine, and the reason why I'm so passionate about it is because he died a couple years ago. He grew up on Division Street with me, but he lived to 59 or 60. But because of the work that the Sickle Cell Foundation, you think about, there's a Janice and Jim Rawlings and Dolores Williams. You got folks that have been, very, very, they made a huge difference in the lives of many of these folks. So that's the type of stuff that I like getting into.
Oh, wow. I thank you for taking on the helm of educating and pushing us forward. It is greatly appreciated. You're listening to Keeping It 100. I'm Jose Candelario, 103.5 FM, NewHavenIndependent.org, powered by La Voz Hispana. You're listening to retired firefighter and now community activist and leader Garry Tinney, sharing us his stories of his journey as a public safety officer, in which he continues to do to this day. We talked a lot the other night when we had that private conversation. Now I don't even know which way we want to go. I'm gonna give you the helm. What's on your mind?
Well, one thing I wanted to talk about, and this is about, I call it the fire within. We partnered with, we had a line of duty death not too long ago. Yes. And then my mentee, Samad Rankins, he almost didn't make it, but he fortunately he's here, and we talk every day. Good. But I mean, that being said, we talk about mental health. People don't realize that suicide is the number one cause of death in the fire.
Wow. Well, amongst all safety, public safety, even police and firefighters, but it affects everyone differently.
Yeah. So why, when we have a line of duty death, the folks they get their pension and everything. But when there's a suicide, it's a whole nother we really need to start looking at the mental health part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And in some policies in some cities, you kind of penalize for mental health, because mental health turns into drinking, drugs, domestic violence.
You might get written up and fired before they actually
Right.
start helping you.
Exactly. So my thing is that departments need to really look at that and not discipline folks that are going through it. Find them help, and that's what Clifford Beers has done. So each month we meet with Clifford Beers.
Wow.
And we have a thing called a circle where folks talk about their careers and what they've experienced. And I mean, I've had folks come in there that I really didn't talk to that much on the job. But now we're in this circle talking about how they feel and what was on their mind and their journey, So it's become a really powerful circle, a circle of healing. But my goal is to make sure there's some legislation
Yes.
that protects folks that are
And their pensions, because in some of these cases, when their suicide is involved, they cut a lot of these benefits away, and
Yes.
they're not eligible because of the manner of the deceased. So that is very important in changing those, especially for our public safety officers. So if you're listening out there and you're a public safety officer, or you're retired or you're active and you do want to talk to someone, Mr. Tinney is here. There is something available to you as a resource in case you didn't know about it, because the dissemination of information sometimes isn't there. We don't get to everyone within the organization while they're active too. It's like, how can you have an active firefighter going through something when this resource exists
exactly
on this other side?
And don't be ashamed, don't be ashamed to reach out for help, because we all need it.
Yeah, but people think pride, it takes a lot. I mean, but because pride's a big thing.
Yeah.
And to admit that you can, you need a little bit of help, maybe you should talk to someone. And, like I told my daughter, sometimes, it's just talk. Just go and just talk.
Yep.
And then maybe you'll find out what it is that is bothering you, because we don't all have the answers.
Correct.
But we all can use the support and the time with each other. Thank you for pointing that out. Wow. And the rates in our fire department we don't have that kind of high suicide rate amongst here in New Haven, or is this like a national thing?
It's a national thing, and it's becoming more prevalent.
Okay. So you already see it coming.
Yes.
You're trying to head it off then.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. It's here, and unfortunately, it's happening more and more. The problem's here, and I tell you, I get a call almost every other week about someone that has committed suicide.
Wow, because you're involved nationally, so you are in this pipeline of information that gives you access that the average person does not have. That's informative. So you're in the fire department. You're working hard. What other resources do you think, or do you consider that our safety officers need or should be aware of?
Well, one thing.
Mental health is number one.
Mental health and people skills. Treat people like you want. When you go on these calls, you treat folks like they're your mother, your father. Show that empathy. Just let people know that you care. Because again, when you tap into the community, when you embrace the community, and you're looking for those contracts, and you're looking for folks to support the fire department, they're gonna have your back when they see you continuously in the community. So that's one message I want to get to these young folks. Learn. The more you come out in the community, the more volunteering that you're doing, those where you learn a lot of life lessons, because you see the needs of others. You start to appreciate what you have, and you see what folks don't have, and you want to be that change maker. You want to make that difference to maybe make their life a little bit better. And I think that goes a long way.
That's a great messaging. So that's something that you see prevalent. But I think that's in any department, I guess, in government or any public service that you're in, that you should be in here for the people.
Yes.
And being a firefighter, fighting a fire is one thing, but being a servant to the community is another. To protect and serve is a whole different level of service. So that's your message to the young guys coming in.
Young men and women to come in.
And some of these old heads who still stuck in their ways.
Yeah, believe me, I've had it out with a few of them.
they want to be in their position. Change is hard. Mental change, like to change your attitude, is hard. It's not easy. But you encourage that also. New Haven, how do you see New Haven's fire trucks? Are we up to date with them? And do you see our facilities look good? Because our buildings are always well maintained here in New Haven when it comes to that level.
Yeah, I mean, some of the buildings are old, and actually, I haven't been in a firehouse in New Haven in a while. I drive by them, but because of COVID and everything else, I haven't. I talk to the young folks, especially the newer ones, to just keep them abreast of what's out there, what's for classes and upward mobility and survival. Surviving
the institution.
Yes, yeah. So don't and I explain to them, don't fall asleep.
Don't fall asleep. You got an event coming up here in August, right?
Yes.
Late August. Can you describe a little bit about what that event is and what it entails?
Well, over 50 years ago, we started our organization, the International Association of Professional Black Firefighters. And the first meeting was held in Hartford, Connecticut, downtown Hartford.
Wow.
So we were supposed to have our 50th anniversary, 3 years ago, but now we're calling it the golden anniversary.
Very good.
So what you're going to have is firefighters from all over the world in Hartford downtown for a week.
August
22nd through the 26th.
22nd through the 26th. If you see a bunch of firefighters in Hartford, now you know what's going on.
Yeah, and you will. And there's the hotel. Our rooms we're right there. We had to change our numbers twice.
Wow.
So.
And when we talk about international, we're talking about people of color from all over the world.
Yes.
Not just the U.S.
Right. You're going to see, firefighters from London, Africa, the Caribbean, and then all over the country too. You're gonna see folks. And then we do a thing on a Wednesday called a Memorial March. So imagine being downtown. We do the memorial at the church to honor our fallen, and you see a sea of black and brown and female firefighters marching down the street with their uniforms. So when those young folks see that, it makes a difference. They go, I want to be a part of that.
I mean, I'm always about positive visuals for our community, especially people of color, females, and you talk about it with so much pride. That
Yes.
you just gleaming as you're mentioning this event and what takes place there. And if you're a youth and you want to see positivity, August 22nd through the 26th, they'll be in Hartford. That Wednesday, what day is that Wednesday?
That we do the Memorial March that Wednesday. That's the 24th.
The 24th, August 24th. And if you see a sea of firefighters,
Yes.
sorry, sea of fire, because you guys don't, there's a distinction. There's always a war between policemen and firemen, even though they all take the trainings together. But you'll see firemen down in Hartford, and that is a great event that's going to take place.
And we're having a community day. We give out book bags. We classes. We offer classes. We're going to be in the community. The chapter there is called the Phoenix Society, and then it gives us the opportunity too to honor our elders. You got some of the elders that are coming from all over the world that we haven't seen in a while. But
so this is almost like a COVID coming out.
Yeah, exactly.
for the firefighters.
Yeah, but we're gonna be safe and do what we're supposed to do.
Of course, with protocols in place.
But again, the partnership and the visibility. We go into the schools. We do a lot of different things. And again, we'll be there that whole week.
So if someone, let's just start. If I'm a teacher or if I'm a school, what should I do? How can I get in contact? Is there a phone number? What's the phone number?
Well, anybody have any questions, they can call me 203-868-1578.
868-51
1578.
5178. You got everyone now has Mr. Tinney's number. If you go back and you want to hear the rebroadcast on Facebook, so make sure you got that number.
Yeah. No, but you got to make yourself accessible. So yeah, the number 868-1578.
Okay, and that's 203.
Yeah.
I mean, people, people who need prefixes. There's like 100 of them now. Used to be just one. Yeah. So that's how you get in contact with you, and then you'll make sure that someone goes out to the schools and stuff and speak. And so there should be no school, there should be no academic area where should feel like they cannot get in contact with someone to bring in public safety officers to talk to the children, especially here in New Haven.
Right. Now, all they have to do is call, and I connect them with the New Haven Firebird Society, And Samad Nuke Rankins is still, he's very active in training also.
Okay, very good, very good.
And that's another thing I forgot to mention, because him and some others.
I ain't gonna mention it. No,
All
so go ahead.
We identified a bunch of folks that were interested in the fire service.
Mm-hmm.
So over the years, it's been training them. A group of guys from the organization have been training them how to test.
Oh, okay.
And lo and behold, many of them became firefighters.
Through the same mentorship.
Yep.
I can't express enough to the community out there and people who are listening the importance of being a mentor, about giving back, about reaching out to individuals who have a little bit of interest, just a teensy bit. That's all you need, the seed for you to grow these pillars of our community that are there now serving. I mean, you talk about these mentees like they are a source of your pride and joy right now, more than your own accolades. You talk about yourself like, man, whatever, but guess what I did for these kids?
Yeah, and that's what drives me. That's what fills my tank. See, I got a call yesterday from a reporter.
Mm-hmm.
She said, Garry, we're getting ready to honor this young lady. There was a car accident on Whitney Avenue, and she helped save these folks. And the first thing she said was, they asked her why. She said, well, I was in this program over 11 years ago at Hill House. I'm like, what? And she said, yeah, 11 years ago. So, I mean, you never know what impact you make on these young minds. And for her to remember that and for her to respond in that way to this reporter, that's what makes me smile. Stuff like that,
because that's where you see the fruit of your labor. That's when you see the payback.
Exactly.
And then not necessarily a thank you or congratulations, because that doesn't mean anything from a peer. But when you hear back that, wow.
Yeah, that's what drives us and drives our organization to continue fighting for justice.
All right, so we got about 15 minutes left here, more or less. For those who are listening out there, this is Keeping It 100. I'm Jose Candelario. You're listening to 103.5 FM, WNHH, NewHavenIndependent.org. And we're listening to Garry Tinney, retired firefighter, now community activist and advocate for public safety officers. And he's looking to recruit new people coming in. What can you say to the people sitting at home that collected these pensions, that did their service, their time? And for that, I'm grateful. I'm not going to say I'm not grateful for those who have put their time in.
Well,
but if you're home and you got a check and you got some spare time, what can you tell those folks out there?
Well, we're at a time and in our communities that we really need to we have the challenge of really tapping into our young folks, especially the young men out here. And take the time, even if you tutor or mentor one person, bring them out for a pizza or something. Sit them down, talk about life experiences and challenges, and try to get to them before they make that one bad decision. We're seeing too much horror out here in the streets, and I feel it's up to us to make a difference. And the folks that I usually I surround myself with are doing the same thing. So, if you have a day out of a month, take the time.
Hours.
Yeah.
I mean, hours. Literally. What is it to call a youth up or a church member or someone that that has a slight interest in public safety to go and have that cup of coffee?
Yeah.
Pizza's so expensive. A cup of coffee. You don't even have to take them out to lunch. That conversation is very, very important.
Yeah, it is. And I'm thinking of another. I got a call last week from an individual I knew for years. He called me. He lives in Manchester, and he said, I have a young lady and her mother that I want to introduce you to.
Mm-hmm.
And then to come to find out, I said, okay. And what he wanted to do was, she didn't know a lot of people. She wanted to become a doctor. She's 15 years old. They're from Ghana. And I sat there and listened to this young lady and what her goals were and what she was looking to do in life. And, it was a pleasant experience just to listen to the mom. But they just wanted to make some connections so she could put her daughter in the right direction. So I told her to reach out to Shaka Felder through Higher Heights, because they do some phenomenal work in the community too, and Dr. MacArthur, who's a female pediatrician in New Haven. just so you can have that ear. You know, they've gone to HBCUs and they know the connection. It's all about the networking and meeting people in different fields. And but anyway, she sent me an email that was so powerful, just thanking me for taking the time. This young lady, and you know, just little things like that just keep me going.
For those who, and this is we're getting to now messaging here and basically doing infomercials. You're a young person. You want to get involved in this public safety area. You're going to college in another state. Why come back here and come back to New Haven? Because we have a lot of young people that go away. They stay away.
Well, we need you. We need you to come back because a lot of you are part of families that have been entrenched in the community and making a difference in lives. And you know, it's one thing about New Haven is it's something about it that makes you always want to come back, you know?
Especially if you drink the water from the fountain.
But no, we have some jewels in the city, and you know, unfortunately, a lot of them aren't recognized. But we have some jewels. I mean, I'm thinking of right now, Mr. Barber, who is retiring, and he's been out there. Mr. Dyson, who's a teacher at Ivy Street School.
Yep.
So there's so many folks that have been around in the families that grew up in the neighborhoods that are still connected. But
we need the youth to start replacing these guys because I saw Bill at AAA the other day. I'm like, God is good at him because he's still moving and shaking. He got that table full of movers and shakers around him.
Exactly.
To this day, you think Bill is not doing anything, but he's still working hard, and we need to find these replacements for these individuals who I hold in esteem and revere. Real quick, hi, Garry. Thank you for what you do. This is your cousin Lorraine from Cali.
Oh, wow.
Yo, cool, and said, what's up?
Yes. All right, cousin.
But yeah, so we got to get these people out of their seats and retirees come back. We got to get these kids that get an education somewhere else. Please come back and contribute. Join the fire department. And for those individuals who are getting to the fire department, just know that there's more than just firefighters in a fire department.
Yes.
There are several positions there. You know, so if you want to talk a little bit about that, because some people just say, "Oh, that's just firefighters." No. There's a whole system behind that. So there are other opportunities there.
Well, you have the fire marshal's office, okay, which are fire inspectors, fire marshals, deputy fire. There's so many different there. You know, then you have the arson squad, so there's so many different. You know, there's desk jobs, so you don't always have to be on the line, but that's where.
That's where the fight takes place. Get into those desk jobs.
Yeah, exactly. But the opportunity and the training is there. You just have to be exposed to it. That's why when I say about the network, I have the gentleman in Hartford is the fire marshal there, Ewan. He's part of our organization. So we have the folks. If we don't have the answers, we're going to point you in the right direction of the folks that do have the answers. My nephew is in charge of the arson squad here in New Haven. But I had to explain to some of them, get off. You don't have to. Don't be on the line. Don't stay on the line like me for your whole career, because at the end of the career, your body's gonna.
You're gonna feel it.
Remind you.
Feel it. Yeah.
So, and then it puts you in a safer situation.
Yeah. Yes.
And then don't forget about the family. Because we have a tendency to chase the money, and work a lot of overtime. But
we chase that money, power, and respect, and we forget about ourselves, family, and the community.
Right. So that time. You can't make up for that missed time with your family. And, just think about that too.
Find balance.
Yes, exactly.
Find balance between service and to your community and service for your family.
Yes.
I mean, the divorce rate must be pretty high in firefighting.
I can't imagine. But it's, again, it goes back to, that mental, that fire within. These are some real challenges. And then especially now during this pandemic, and, I can't imagine, like what the teachers went through, what the parents went through. Trying to balance, trying to survive, and to lose. There's been so much death, and so we gotta find a happy place.
And this affects, COVID has affected everyone in their institution, and we also got to be mindful that our firefighters are out there and they're going through the same things in their families and their background. and still showing up to work. Because I didn't hear about the fire department shutting down for COVID.
No.
So that does not happen.
No.
That is not a choice for our public safety officers, our frontline workers. Was not an option to stay home and educate. They still had to go out there, expose themselves, take calls, and respond. Yeah. And respond.
And then go home to their families. Go home to their loved ones and possibly expose. So there was a lot to that. So I give kudos to all the public safety folks out there, because I can't imagine how that felt.
I can't. Some shoes I refuse to put myself in. That is one of them. We're coming to a close here. Okay. We've been here an hour already.
Wow.
Sweet Jesus.
I haven't spoken that long.
Whatever, man. But I thank you for taking the time to come out here in person down to our studios in New Haven. I know that, during these times, we're reopening our doors. Mm-hmm. You've been listening to Keep It in 100 with Jose Candelario here at 103.5 FM, WNHH, NewHavenIndependent.org. You've been listening to a conversation with retired firefighter Garry Tinney. If you need any more information, he is on Facebook under Garry Tinney, GarryTinney, in case you want to message him on Facebook directly with any questions. And his phone number again is
203-868-1578.
If you need him to come down with his team from the association to educate children in school system, please reach out to him. He's willing to talk. If you have any youth that are in there slightly interested in public safety, please let him know. Let somebody get in touch with them. Get that seed, mm-hmm. help water it, nurture it, and get these guys jobs.
Yes.
Right. I mean, definitely. Yes. Ultimately we're saying we have an opportunity to get employed. We're almost guaranteeing you a job if you follow certain steps and guidelines. You listen to the association and their wisdom, infinite wisdom that they have. Boom.
Yeah. It's a great resource. And if I may, I just wanted to say congratulations to the summer school graduates who graduate tomorrow from Hill House. And I'm speaking there tomorrow. So I just want to say congratulations. And, resiliency means a lot.
Yeah, look at that. Yeah, man, you're everywhere. Yeah. What haven't you done in the past 3 months? Where haven't you been?
I've been working.
Working hard. Yeah, you say you're working harder now than you did before you retired. What are you talking about?
Well, yeah, it seems that way. I mean, I'm the fire commissioner in Hampden. So
you really got multiple hats on during a week. Okay, all right. And I'm thinking you was in Barbados on a boat on a little yacht already.
No, one day.
Hopefully soon. I thank you for your service. I thank you for everything you've done for our city, everything that you had to endure. Those litigious moments in your life, people don't understand how many people are benefiting right now. If you're working for the New Haven Fire Department, if you're a person of color, how you have benefited from Garry Tinney's work. There's a lot of people. So I thank you personally for everything, in case no one has, because New Haven doesn't like to thank or congratulate. So I will congratulate and elevate you to the status of one of our elders. Thank you so much, though. Thank you.
Thank you, Juan. And
it's Jose. Look at that,
Jose.
My guy. Got me confused with the other Hispanic. Stop it. I don't have that much power.
Thank you, Jose.
Juan's a state rep. I don't have that authority. But thank you for putting me in that class. No, I don't. You don't gotta apologize. You put me in the upper class right now. I was like, okay.
Well, you definitely. This is you. You got it.
No, I appreciate it. Yo, I'm Jose Candelario. You've been listening to Keep It in 100 with me, Jose Candelario, 103.5 FM, WNHH. This has been a great conversation with Mr. Garry Tinney. I would like to say thank you to everybody, and until next time. Yeah, I think, am I playing music? Yeah, I'm playing music. All right. That me DJing my own thing. Ow.
Thank you, Jose.
But thank you, sir. Anybody else you want to say hi to before we leave?
I just want to say hi, stay safe, and congratulations to all the folks and families that are just out there and smiling. Just try to make it better for everybody. That's all.
All right. And you already heard it from the man's mouth, the man. So everyone talking about, the man's keeping me down. No, the man was in the building, and he's trying to uplift you. His name is Garry Tinney, y'all. Until next time, I'm Jose Candelario. Have a great afternoon.